Also, as another challenge to the traditional theories, we have constructivism. Constructivism was developed as a direct challenge to both neoliberalism and neorealism. They suggest that anarchy is not something that we should take for granted, as this is opposed to neorealism and neoliberalism, as we have discussed, that take it for granted that anarchy is a fundamental characteristic of the international system. And again, when we talk about anarchy, we're suggesting that there is no broader world government that can dictate to states how they should interact with each other. For constructivists, though, the power of ideas is just as important as the power of material interests. It's not just material interests, it's not just one's power in the international system that dictates how relations between states are going to be determined. Also, constructivists suggest that it's the ideas of how states should relate to each other that also have a very important impact on international relations. They suggest that the social interactions of various state and non-state actors create a variety of different norms, values, rules, and symbols. These norms, values, rules, and symbols then, in turn, influence how people perceive the world and act in it. They suggest that the fundamental institutions of international relations are created socially. They are the result of interactions of state and non-state actors. So an example here would be that the United States was created as a result of the interactions of state and non-state actors after World War II. It wasn't simply a byproduct of attempting to mitigate the effects of anarchy. Instead, the development of the United Nations came as a result of the interactions of actors in the international system. Essentially, constructivists suggest that anarchy has no impact on international relations beyond what we as interacting social actors allow it to have and believe that it has. What constructivists suggest is that anarchy is what states make of it. Essentially, what we think of anarchy, how we perceive anarchy as dictating the behavior of states in the international relations, is what drives. It's not anarchy itself. It's our thoughts and attitudes and beliefs about anarchy that create the current type of order. The implication of this is that if we can change the way that we think about anarchy, if we begin to believe that cooperation is possible on an anarchical system and that states can have very cooperative interactions with each other, all we need to do is change that belief, and then we can see that in the international system. So constructivists suggest that anarchy, the whole concept of anarchy, the market, the government, the United Nations, these are all simply social constructs. There is nothing natural or inevitable about these social constructs. Agents or individuals, we all have the capacity to change these existing constructs and institutional structures. All we need to be able to change these are to see large changes in the norms and ideas and beliefs that suggest that there is a need for change. Another countering theory in international relations, another non-traditional theory, is feminism and gender theory. These, and we've discussed gender theory a little bit in the past, but these deal with the problem of patriarchy, or the role of men in society. These perspectives suggest that men tend to hold political, economic, social, and domestic authority in their relations with women, and there's concern about how women have been depicted in their accounts of global politics. There's even more concern with how women have often been omitted from accounts of global politics. So what we see is that feminism in international relations begins to become very influential in the 1980s, and traditional IR, these theorists and scholars suggest that traditional IR, or traditional theories of international relations, including neoliberalism and neorealism, are founded on masculine assumptions. We have different types of feminism as well. One branch of feminism is liberal feminism. This challenges the subordination of women. It does not typically challenge traditional theories of IR. So this liberal feminism is often typically embedded in neoliberal perspectives towards international relations, and they're particularly concerned about examining the subordination of women in international affairs. We also have critical feminism. This builds, of course, on critical theory. It's critical of women's subordination and how traditional theories of international relations have helped to support relations of domination and subordination between genders. So unlike liberal feminism, which is embedded in the traditional frameworks, critical feminism attacks those traditional frameworks as themselves helping to support the domination of women by men. We also have feminist constructivism. This pays particular attention to the power of ideology and social relationships involving gender in international politics. We have feminist post-structuralism. This examines the relationship between knowledge and power and their impact on gendered relations. Language such as strong, weak, rational, emotional serve to empower men at the expense of women. So, in essence, men like to portray themselves as being strong and rational while characterizing women as weak and emotional, and thereby using that rationale to try to justify the reason why men often seem to hold political power. We also have post-colonial feminism. This is similar to post-structuralism in the sense that it examines the relations of domination and subordination, but it particularly examines how Western imperialism and colonialism continue to impact the world, and particularly how they continue to impact women in the developing world. Finally, we have postmodernism and post-structuralism. These encompass a wide array of theories, all of which challenge modernity. Modernity suggests that we can have a certain basis of knowledge and that it's possible to describe the world in rational and objective terms. Postmodernism and post-structuralism reject these ideas. They reject the idea that we can ever have a certain basis of knowledge, and they suggest it is impossible to describe the world in rational, objective terms. They suggest that this is a modernist assumption and that it is flawed. So, one advantage of postmodernism is that it gives helpful critiques of existing institutions, practices, and ideas in the international system, but it's less helpful in mapping out how to achieve positive social change because it often ends in an absolute relativism, nihilism, and even incoherence to some extent. Because if we adopt the point of view that it's impossible to have any kind of certain basis of knowledge whatsoever, it really becomes impossible to form any kind of conclusions. If there are no objective standards, how can we describe what is good, or how can we describe what is evil behavior? How can we describe what is desirable, and how can we describe what is undesirable if there are no objective standards whatsoever? We also have post-colonial theory. This examines the direct and indirect effects of Western colonialism on the developing world. Traditional theories such as realism and liberalism are exposed as Eurocentric, and that they are used to help the Western world control and exploit the developing world. Neoliberalism and neorealism in particular are attacked by post-colonial theory as abstract, ahistorical conceptions of the state, the market, and the individuals, which are in fact bound by particular cultural expressions that are essentially Western, white, and male. So again, post-colonial theory sees neoliberalism and neorealism helping to support a vision of the world that some would suggest should be dominated by Western, white, and male interests. So that'll do it for this particular lecture. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I'm feeling a little under the weather today, so I do apologize for the coughing. Do be sure to list a question for this week, and also do be sure to complete the quiz. Thank you.